To understand the importance of the core in the 4 training circles, try asking this question: how can we handle each circle most skillfully? Our life is a training process that unfolds from outside to inside. But once we understand this principle, we need to reverse it. Bring value from the inside out and connect it with each circle. The knowledge circle, what we learn and absorb from books, schools, and teachers. The skills circle, things that help us earn money, master our profession, and create practical value. The circle of character, tendencies, and talents. These special qualities help you become the best in your field. A musician can compose excellently. A skilled craftsman can become a master in their work. But all that is still not enough. The innermost circle, the circle of morality, concentration, wisdom, is the core that creates a truly stable person. This is the circle that helps you live with depth of consciousness, dare to return to yourself, and dare to contribute unconditionally. Your life has 2 hands, one hand to help yourself and one hand extended to help everyone else. However, understanding the value of extending your hand to help others is not simple. It doesn't happen suddenly. You cannot just learn about this superficially. You must truly understand, practice, and absorb the meaning of reaching out to help. This process cannot be completed in a few days. Therefore, I encourage you to go home and try practicing. Or even in this class, when you see something good that you have in excess, try giving something to the person next to you tomorrow and see what happens. Just try it. I remember an elderly woman about 70-something with a wrinkled face who attended the Right View class in Hanoi. When we reached this part, she sat crying, tears in her eyes. When I handed her the microphone, she expressed her doubt. All my life I've always suffered. How can extending my hand to help others end my suffering? She didn't believe it. Her daughter, who had taken the Right View class before, brought her mother to class with determination to help her overcome the stuck points in her thinking. The elderly woman had a rough, square face, spoke very decisively, with excessive yang energy that had created many breakdowns in relationships. I asked her, "Do you truly want to extend your hand to help everyone now?" I assure you, if you extend your hand correctly for just half a day, even after only 15 minutes, you will feel happiness. Do you believe this? I encouraged her. Try it boldly in this class and see. Perhaps you'll find happiness. Will you try it? Are you willing? After much persuasion, she finally agreed. 15 minutes later, I suggested she go buy 10 karma comic books, each costing 10,000 Vietnamese dong. I emphasized, if you don't have money, I'll give it to you, I'll provide it. But if you have money, you must spend your own. Note that doing good deeds requires investing your own effort and resources to be truly good. Taking from others to give away isn't really a good deed. She went down to buy 10 books and came back asking who in the class wanted to receive them to give to their children to read. As a result, about 30 hands went up. She had to go down to get more books a second time, giving away about 30 books in total. The remaining people already had the books, so they didn't need them. It wasn't that they didn't want them. She wrote her phone number on the board and distributed all the books to everyone before lunchtime. A little while later, about 15 minutes before lunch, I saw her sitting reading messages and she began to tear up, crying. When asked why she was crying, she shared that she had received many thank you messages that moved her deeply. Until then, she had never been thanked by anyone, and this was the first time in a very long time that she had received words of gratitude. Right after that, she stood up and announced, "This afternoon I'll treat the entire class to a smoothie each." The whole class applauded enthusiastically, even though there were more than 200 people that day. What does this show? Many people live with closed souls, hands accustomed to being clenched, and tightly closed mindsets. They haven't truly opened their hearts to others, so they always view life with suspicion. They doubt why there could be good people. I advised her, just try it. In this class, everyone is very open-hearted. Just try giving and see, and you'll receive in return immediately. So she practiced it. You should note that living with an open hand may seem difficult at first glance, but when you actually commit to this path, it's even easier than keeping your hand closed. Do you believe it? When you keep your hand closed, you have to use many tactics, and it's very exhausting. But when you open your hand, you live much more freely. If I have something, I'll share it with you. If not, then that's it. I've got nothing left. Life doesn't need to be overly complicated. Living simply and knowing what is enough is a wonderful way to live. It helps you feel relaxed, peaceful, and happiness comes naturally without any difficulty. Therefore, when you go home, think about how your hand can open to your loved ones. Try to think about what you can do tomorrow morning to help your family members. One hand to help yourself, open to yourself, not closed, and one hand to help others. Please think carefully about this and put it into practice. This is a promise, a commitment. Just do it, and you'll see that life is kind. Be kind to life, and life will be kind in return. There's nothing complicated about it. And we can also visualize where the formula be times do equals give fits in. Be times do equals living with an open hand. It exists within each person. You've begun to understand how to bring philosophy into life. Most of us live without a philosophy, so now we're going in the opposite direction. Bringing philosophy into daily life. Why have we forgotten philosophy? Because from childhood to adulthood, we've been taught too much math, physics, and chemistry. Philosophy has nothing to do with math, physics, and chemistry, but places that teach a lot of these subjects have high technical skills. High technical skills earn a lot of money, but those places also have high rates of stress and suicide. You can search on Google for the rates of stress and sedative use according to data from the United States and Europe over the years. In 1980, the rate might have been 10% of the population. By 1990, it increased to 20%. By 2000, it rose to 30%. And now it may be up to 70% of Europeans and Americans regularly using sedatives. This rate continues to increase. This shows us that the world has forgotten the formula be times do equals give, living with an open hand. When Einstein created the formula for the theory of relativity E equals mc squared, he mentioned something very profound that few people notice. He said that in this universe there exists an extremely special force, a miraculous attractive force, the force of love, the force of compassion, the force of giving. While we measure all kinds of different forces, like when we punch someone and receive a reactive force, there's a special force, the gravitational force of love, that science still cannot explain. However, it's important to note that the Western concept of love often carries a selfish quality. The nature of love in the ordinary sense is somewhat selfish, not truly giving, but rather wanting to possess the person you love. So where is the beauty in that? In spiritual teachings, this understanding is different. For example, Christianity, when using the word love, must add unconditional. In Buddhism, people use the concept of compassion. Therefore, living with an open hand is an expression of a compassionate heart, which is not at all easy. Yesterday, I described to you the process of bringing core values from the inside out. This means that whatever is taught on the outside, ultimately you must apply this first circle. Only those who know how to do this will truly succeed. The story about the scholar Nguyen Binh Khiem is an interesting example. When his father carried him outside, pointed to the sky, and taught him about the moon goddess and the man in the moon, Nguyen bin Khiem's mother was very angry. She scolded her husband, "How could you teach our son like that? Come inside, light a candle, and read him the books of the sages. Tomorrow when the sun rises, then go out and teach him about the sun." What did the wife want to say to her husband? She was a very talented person, a famous expert in Eastern medicine and numerology in the region. When she married Nguyen bin Khiem's father and gave birth to Nguyen bin Khiem, her goal was very clear: to marry in order to have a child, and that child must accomplish great things. That was her goal. Because of this goal, she had been searching for a husband from her teens until she was 29 years old when she finally got married. You should know that 500 years ago, a 29-year-old unmarried woman was considered an old maid, even more than a 49-year-old woman would be today. At that time, girls typically got married at 13, and by 18 could already have 5 children. She had searched everywhere but couldn't find anyone who satisfied her. Her purpose was to find a husband who could help her give birth to a child as she desired. Finally, among all the people she had met, she chose the best one, Nguyen bin Khiem's father. On her wedding day, she carefully selected the time, for example 12 noon, believing it was the best hour, the ideal input time for a soul to be conceived. In astrology, there are 2 important types of hours: output hours and input hours. The output hour only relates to the mother and the influence of heavenly bodies. That's when the mother gives birth and the child receives the influence of the stars, forming its astrological chart. But she believed that the input hour was even more important. The input hour involves both father and mother while still being influenced by the stars. In astrology, the input hour is considered more important than the output hour. Therefore, she calculated the input hour carefully, thinking, "Well, marrying this man is acceptable, but if I time the input hour correctly, our child could still become king." She instructed her husband, "You can enjoy the wedding feast outside, eat and drink as you please, but you must enter the room at exactly this hour. I'll be waiting inside." But her husband got drunk, and when he entered the room, she shook her head in disappointment. Missing the right hour by 1 watch, our child has lost the chance to become king. When her husband asked, she replied, "Never mind, let's accept it as fate. If our child cannot become king, I'll have to accept it." So the couple gave birth to Nguyen bin Khiem. Indeed, Nguyen bin Khiem did not become king, but he was very talented. He served as an official for only 3 years, performed excellently, but then disliked the political struggles and retired to live in seclusion. Perhaps if he had become king, he wouldn't have been as famous as he was as an official. You should notice that officials often become more famous than kings in terms of eternal reputation. People don't judge eternal reputation based on position, but on a person's contributions. Therefore, even if someone is just a village teacher or a physician, if they make contributions, they can still achieve eternal fame. They don't necessarily have to be king. For example, during the time of Hai Thuong Lan Ong, how many people know who the king was then? People only know to mention physicians like Hai Thuong Lan Ong and Tue Tin. Similarly, during the time when Judge Bao Than Thien, presided over cases, how many people know the name of the king? People only remember Bao Than Thien because he made many contributions to the people and country. History doesn't record whether we sat in high or low positions, or whether we had much money or little. It only records one thing: what we contributed to humanity and to our country. That's what helps us achieve eternal fame. And contribution is practicing the formula B times do equals give. Contributing means you must give, and if you possess a lot but give little, society will not recognize your value. When Nguyen bin Kim was born, he was primarily raised by his mother. She was a very talented person who often wandered around and was consulted by many people. Each time she returned home, she found her husband taking Nguyen bin Kim outside, pointing to the sky and earth, especially at night, pointing to the moon goddess and the man in the moon, which made her angry, and she told him to bring the child inside to read the books of the sages. What do we realize from this story? From a young age, although they may not have understood much, the approach of all talented people was to teach children from the core outward. The teachings of the sages lie at the core, not in the outer shell. That information and knowledge contains morality, concentration, wisdom, which is the essence. They taught from the core outward, but we teach from the shell inward, so we remain stuck on the surface. When we teach children B is for B, that's just informational knowledge. It has nothing to do with morality, wisdom, effort. We need to think of simple sentences that relate to morality, wisdom, effort, sentences related to ethics, principles, and deep understanding. These are the teachings that necessarily convey moral principles. The teachings of the sages almost always convey moral principles. Instead of having children memorize an ordinary poem, have them memorize a poem with ethical foundations. Instead of teaching an ordinary song, teach children songs about understanding and loving, or songs like Five Brothers from Four Corners of the World, talking about connection despite different skin colors, that is, morality. When teaching children about birth and death, take them to the garden to observe plants, flowers blooming and withering. Explain to them the laws of nature. Ask them, what do you think will happen to the flower after it withers? Take them around so they can discover for themselves. Dad, I see that when a flower withers, later a small seed grows from it. That's teaching children about birth and death. When children accept that birth and death are natural parts of life, later when facing changes, they will remain calm rather than surprised. For example, if a child's relative passes away when the child is 12, but the child has been taught about birth and death from an early age, they will accept it more easily, without too much shock. That's a sign of a mature and resilient child. But if we lack the essence of morality, effort, wisdom, we will teach differently. We only point out beautiful flowers to children, take pictures to post on Facebook, causing children to become fixated on beauty. As they grow up, they will criticize, compare, and become jealous of anything different from the beauty they're accustomed to. For example, one day a child feels they are 7 points beautiful, but when attending a wedding and meeting someone who is 9 points beautiful, they will feel jealous inside. Thus we fail to teach children about morality, and they gradually become people without moral principles, simply because our teaching method focuses on informational knowledge while lacking the substance of the core character circle. Especially for teachers, when understanding this deeply, every lesson can become wonderful. Take the time to think, reflect, or gather teachers together to discuss. How can we incorporate morality, wisdom, effort into this lesson? After discussing for half an hour to an hour, ideas will emerge. At first the application may be awkward, but after 5 to 7 attempts it will become natural. From there you will become skilled in teaching. You can teach any knowledge, but you'll be especially good at incorporating core character, morality, wisdom, effort into each lesson. That's how to become a top teacher. At Tu Duke School, skills teachers teaching martial arts, swimming, military games, music, painting, have succeeded in incorporating morality, wisdom, effort into each lesson. Whether taking students to eat or on field trips, they fill every activity with morality, wisdom, effort. Some activities develop morality, some build willpower, some cause students to think deeply, some train cause and effect thinking. all of these can absolutely be achieved.